are events from Reddit. Events so scary you wish they were only in your nightmares. Viewer discretion is advised. Neighbor going crazy.
My neighbor was an ex-police officer. Apparently he always wanted to be a detective but never was able to get there. Unlike a lot of these Redditors, I wasn't directly involved in this one. I just got to watch this happen. My neighbor believed the city was corrupt. He had several pieces of evidence that the police force was corrupt, so he started to post them on YouTube. It wasn't anything too serious, but I do remember seeing more and more cop cars outside of our house on a regular basis. He became increasingly paranoid. His post on YouTube began to be very suspicious, most of which I thought was overkill. He claimed that the police department was trying to put a stop to him. Most of his following videos were speculative at best. One video he posted, he claimed was an undercover cop. Maybe it was. All it was a guy in street clothes outside his house walking back and forth before he got in his car and drove off. Outside looking, and I didn't think much of it. Another video he posted, he said the police force was preparing for breaking into his house, and one thing they didn't want was to have his dog react to the K9 unit, so they would have a police officer dressed in civilian clothing walking a dog right up to his fence. There was a video of this happening. He claimed if the two dogs got to know one another that his dog would be okay with the other if they came onto his property. Was this true, or just a man walking his dog? Things get weird later on. A video he uploaded was of a man who pulled up in a van and opened a side door. He had a large camera. It looked to be a big movie camera, which some people speculated was a thermal camera. They are there to see if he was home. This video was one of the more compelling videos, as I have never seen a camera like it. There was another video that creeped me out. He claimed they were coming for him. Featured video contained several cops' cars on the street and several cops on the other side of the road standing in line just looking to his house. I remember that night because my parents thought this man might actually be telling the truth. Things were weird when he started posting on Facebook. One night he asked if any of his friends had weapons and wanted to spend a night. He was convinced that they were coming for him. I am a little hesitant to post the ending to this, because I know Reddit users won't believe me, but you can look it up as it's public knowledge. He died in his house in a way that left more questions than answers. You see, the report said it was suicide due to gunshot, yet the coroner report said it was a knife stab. Okay, if what's the difference? Well, his knife wounds were in his back, making it almost impossible for him to have done it. What's more weird is the coroner's report showed there were 2 police officers there. Now I checked Fresno police procedure, and the only reason a Fresno police officer would be present at the autopsy report would be because a police officer was there at the time the deceased passed away. Was this the police trying to cover something up? 2 years have passed and we still don't have answers.
Karma's a bitch.
Racism still exists in America, and in some parts it is worse than you would ever imagine. I married my high school sweetheart, the love of my life. We had been together 8 years, while we both went to college and got our careers started. I am so proud of her. We both worked our butts off and wanted to find a place to live. We found a little suburb in a beautiful community, one that made us proud to be part of this beautiful country. We had such high hopes for what was to come, and we both were willing to work as hard as we needed to get the life we wanted, while still being happy where the cards fell. When we first looked at the house that we would later move into, there was a realtor that met us at the door. She was incredibly rude, but being the 12th, 13th house we had looked at, it wasn't that out of character to me, a rude realtor, but this should have been a clue. As she met us at the door, she said, "Oh, sorry, this is only for serious buyers," which we were. We went through the house and it was damn near perfect. She was confused when we wanted to put an offer in. After a small bidding war, we won, and the place was ours, thinking this was a great start to the life we wanted, but we were wrong. When we got the keys, we went out to check out the property, only bringing a few things to make the move easier. I brought my toolkit, a few basics, blow-up mattress, and that was about it. We had only been there a couple hours and there was a knock on our door. An older woman with a shocked look on her face said she was looking for the Joneses. I said, "That's us," and the pie she was holding lowered a little with her body language of disbelief. I invited her in as she was hesitant. We both wanted to be friendly as she was our neighbor and we knew how important first impressions were. She looked around and asked if this was how we always lived. We both laughed and said we were moving everything in on Friday. Because I had been working fixing a few things, I had worked up a bit of a sweat. On her way out, she looked me up and down and said, "You people not shower?" I wanted to say something but knew it was best to keep quiet. I said, "When the work's done, that's the first thing on my list." She left and I looked at my wife with a smile and said, "I think she likes us." The next morning I looked out the window to see a few different couples walking down the street and they all looked so happy and cheerful. I really did feel lucky to be there. Over the next couple weeks we found it incredibly hard to get to know the people on our street. It was like they were told not to speak to us. Some would avoid eye contact, others would only give us one-word answers to any questions we had. We knew something was up, but couldn't figure it out. The next morning we woke up and opened our mail. Inside was a letter with no return address. The letter was written in handwriting. All it said was, "We have spoken, and believe it's best you find another place to live." Not sure what that meant. Who had spoken? When I saw my neighbor that day, I tried to ask, yet they looked right past me and I just stood there in disbelief. No one said it was because we were black, but when the entire street's wide, it's hard not to jump to these assumptions. I mean, as far as I can tell, they don't have anything else on us. They don't know anything else about us. They haven't given us a chance. The letters kept coming, saying things like, "Get out. We don't want you here." When the move-out date, it was wearing me down. I wanted to make this work. My wife was staying so strong and happy. I was determined to figure this out. I saw several people outside, so I decided to go speak to them. Everyone treated me the same. No one spoke to me. It was like I was a ghost. Yet you could tell they knew I was there. They just didn't speak to me. I barely slept that night. My wife, keeping such a strong faith, made me a great breakfast and helped me get out of the funk I felt I was in. As I left, I glanced at the garage door to see someone had spray painted on it in giant letters, "You don't belong here." I had never felt so hurt, so judged for nothing other than the factors we as a couple have no control over. Better yet, these people wouldn't even listen with an open mind. How could some community act and live like this? We talked about what was the best next step for us. The decision was to move. You might think that this was us giving up, but it wasn't. We are good people and want to be around good people. Plus, karma's a bitch. If you don't believe in karma, you should speak to my neighbor who got a random gift in the mail from an anonymous mailer. The gift was a chocolate tick that said "Eat a dick." If you don't believe in karma, you should speak to my neighbor who every couple weeks has his tires slashed while he's at work. If you don't believe in karma, you should speak to my neighbor who has had food poisoning 3 times this month. If you don't believe in karma, you should speak to my neighbor whose dog went missing and will never come back. If you don't believe in karma, you should speak to my neighbor who has unknowingly had his computer hacked, and the information on that computer is currently being sent to the police department for further investigation. Karma always wins.